COVID cartel criminals must be charged with crimes against humanity, according to leading Japanese medical scientists, who've gone on the record describing the vaccines as poison, and the globalist rollout as a modern-day massacre. The global elite and Big Pharma are in full panic mode, terrified of what the Japanese investigators are uncovering. They're pulling out all the stops to discredit the findings, including enforcing a total media blackout on any news coming out of Japan. But their days of controlling the narrative are over. We won't let them gaslight the public any longer. Japan is exposing crimes against humanity, and the world deserves to know the truth. Before we dive in, join the People's Voice Locals community if you haven't already, and sign up to become a member of the world's first ever cyber nation that truly believes in life, liberty, and the pursuit of your dreams. Visit joson.com and click the Join Us button today. It's completely free. The Japanese people have awakened and are rising up against their corrupt leadership in response to the pandemic. As the toll of victims climbs daily, the public is demanding that the COVID cartel be held accountable for its crimes against humanity. Meet Professor Seiji Kojima from Nagoya University, Japan, one of the most important research universities in the country. Professor Kojima spoke at a press conference last Thursday about the risks and dangers of COVID-19 vaccines. The professor didn't mince his words, declaring the mRNA vaccines to be a poison and the global rollout to be a modern-day massacre perpetrated by criminals.
その毒という認識がどこまであるか、それで今回私皆さんには話さなかったんですが、口で話しますが、毒ですね。虐殺をしたんですね。
The elites responsible for the massacre are being named and shamed in Japan. Bill Gates landed the job of dictating world health policy without even a high school level understanding of medical biology, according to Japan's leading oncologist, Professor Emeritus Mansuri Fukushima. Addressing a press conference in Japan, the world-renowned oncologist even suggested that Gates should go back to middle school to gain a basic understanding of medical biology before having the arrogance to make such impactful decisions for humanity without public consultation. As medical scientists continue coming forward to announce their findings, the official investigation into COVID crimes is heating up in Japan, and corrupt politicians are terrified of the consequences. Japanese Health Minister Keizo Takemi shifted from echoing Big Pharma's claims that mRNA vaccines are safe and effective to a much more cautious stance, saying, "We would like to refrain from commenting."
新型コロナワクチンによる健康被害が薬害に該当するかについてのお答えはまだこの時点では差し控えておきたいというふうに思います。
Investigators in Japan are digging deep to uncover just how far Big Pharma's influence reaches. They are now questioning why the chairman of the Vaccine Adverse Reactions Review Committee has received payments from Moderna, AstraZeneca, and Takeda during his time in office.
審議会が重大な懸念はないと言ってるから大丈夫というお答えが目に見えますので、その大臣が信頼してやまない審議会について伺います。武見大臣は3月12日の記者会見で、審議会参加者の過半数が製薬会社から金銭の受け取りがあるとお話をされました。で、今回の質問ですけれども、その審議会の副反応検討部会の部会長の金銭受け取り状況を見ますと、2020年4月に部会長に就任され、そして2021年から新型コロナワクチンの審査が始まって、それ以降にアストラゼネカ、モデルナ、武田薬品工業と立て続けに金銭を受け取っていることがわかります。武見大臣はこのような部長の行為、適切であると思いますでしょうか。
これ審議会における審議の中立性、公平性の確保が必要です。
We aren't going to play the rest of the minister's response because he spent the next 5 minutes desperately trying to avoid providing an answer for why he and his regulatory agency were on Big Pharma's payroll during the pandemic. Big Pharma is like a vampire squid, wrapping its tentacles around the globe and driving its blood funnel into anything that can be corrupted with money. In Australia, the judge responsible for allowing Pfizer to roll out its experimental vaccine on the public failed to disclose that she had been on Pfizer's legal payroll. Helen Roth QC represented Pfizer in at least 5 long-running legal cases before she adjudicated the case regarding COVID-19 vaccines, finding in Pfizer's favour and dismissing the lawsuits which threatened to stop the Big Pharma giant from distributing the vaccine. Meanwhile, in the US, Big Pharma has completely captured the regulatory agencies, as RFK Jr. explains.
The government regulators have been bought off by Big Pharma. I think that's what you're saying when you say that this entanglement has occurred. You said agency employees are actually getting royalties, getting payments on vaccines and drugs that they approve. Is that true?
Yes, there's a couple of things happening with FDA. About 50% of FDA's budget comes from regulated industries, so mainly the pharmaceutical industries. You have agency capture on steroids. The principal objective of FDA today is to serve the mercantile interests of pharmaceutical companies. For example, the Moderna vaccine, NIH owns half of that vaccine, 50%. So the billions of dollars that that vaccine makes, half of that goes to NIH, the agency, but there's also individuals, at least 4, and maybe 6 individuals who work for NIH who are high-level deputies under Anthony Fauci who get to collect $150,000 a year forever, not just for their lives, but their children. As long as that mRNA technology is on the market, they're going to be making money from it.
Okay,
and that is a conflict.
Hang on a minute now, because I don't want to blow by this too fast. So the National Institute of Health is getting a kickback, a bribe, a royalty, a share, whatever you want to call it. Is this not a clear conflict of interest?
Yes.
That's what you're pointing out, right?
Yeah, it is. People are shocked.
Why are you the only one talking about this?
If you talk about this kind of thing, you get censored on YouTube. You will not be allowed on the mainstream media to talk about these issues. It used to be that you could, and nowadays you cannot.
Global leaders have long sought to plead the fifth during investigations for their egregious crimes against humanity. But we have learned from history, and we're not going to allow them to continue gaslighting the public. History is littered with examples of government and Big Pharma colluding to destroy the health of the general population. During the First World War, the troops on the ground said that more soldiers were killed by vaccines than shot by enemy bullets. The truth is the 1917 Spanish flu pandemic was caused by vaccines, and the Rockefeller pharmaceutical industry used the media and complicit governments to cover it up. Some things don't change. The difference in 2024 is that more people than ever before have woken up to the agenda of the elite, and we won't let them get away with murder. There has been plenty of good news this week on this front, including research into how to expel unwanted spike protein from damaged bodies. We've got the details after this important word from our sponsor.